5 Techniques of Farming, The Rise of the Fields. Chapter 1, A Boy in the Field. Mo Suanchu, a rural teenager, was born in a remote mountain village since he was a child, and his ancestors have passed down all the mountain medicine, hexagrams, and physiognomy. The people in the village all rely on him to tell fortunes and see doctors, and he has the ability to 5 arts with amazing skills. With this magical talent, Mo Suanchu not only cured the villagers of incurable diseases, but also calculated the fate of the villagers, and his reputation spread far and wide. He goes out every day to collect medicine, worships the mountain in the morning and evening to pray for blessings, rigorous and persistent. The neighbors respectfully called him Mr. Wushu, but he knew in his heart that this was only the starting point, and the real stage of life was still outside. Chapter 2 The First Encounter in the Town. Once a girl from a neighboring village was seriously ill. Mo Suanchu drove there and happened to meet Suruyan, a young and innocent nurse who had just come to the town. Suruyan was amazed by Mo Suanchu's medical skills and secretly fell in love. The two joined hands beside the sickbed, and Suruyan's tenderness and purity made Mo Suanchu's heart throb. The town official Shen Junhua also began to pay attention to Mo Suanchu's talent, and invited him to go to the government to divinate the officials and powerful, so Mo Suanchu stepped into the threshold of officialdom. Chapter 3, A Preliminary Study of Officialdom. With his superb hexagram skills and situation analysis, Mo Suanchu helped Shen Junhua repeatedly break through difficulties, and gradually became the object of competition among officials. He knows that power is like a battlefield and must be dealt with carefully. As a result, he learned the yin and yang changes of officialdom and used the 5 techniques to reconcile interpersonal relationships. At the same time, he got acquainted with Yanran, a female official with a hot personality and decisive work, and the two were ambiguous and entangled, both cooperating and secretly affectionate. Chapter 4 Entanglement of Power and Sex. As his status rises, Mo Suanchu faces more temptations. Liang Wangqing, the wife of a local official, had a charming figure and frequently threw herself into his arms, trying to win him over with her beauty. Mo Suanchu wanders between 3 women, pursuing both power and beauty, and his life is full of passion and danger. At the same time, he used the 5 techniques to lay out the officialdom struggle, skillfully leveled the hostile forces, and obtained higher-level resource support with the help of the relationship between the official's wife. Chapter 5 Breaking Through the Danger. As his power grew, Mo Suanchu also became the target of public criticism. The conspiracy and assassination of officialdom occurred one after another, and several times fell into a life-and-death crisis. Was framed and imprisoned once, but fortunately Suruyan and Yanran joined forces to rescue, and Mo Suanchu's feelings and career were tested. He was determined to change his strategy, combine the 5 techniques with modern management, promote local reforms, and demonstrate his true political ability. Chapter 6 The Storm Rises Again. Mo Suanchu finally stepped into the position of a high-ranking official, surrounded by Suruyan's innocent protection, Yanran's warm support, and Liang Wangqing's secret help. The emotions of the 3 are intertwined, making him walk on thin ice. The officialdom is treacherous, and he faces a greater test, the change of national policy and the confrontation of local forces. Mo Suanchu exerted his 5 skills and wisdom, laid out strategies, and gradually consolidated his power. Chapter 7 The Game of Fate. Just when Mo Suanchu was full of scenery, a sudden coup d'état swept in. He is caught up in the conspiracy of the dark forces and faces the most difficult decision of his life. At this time, Mo Suanchu foresaw a major turning point in the future and decided to give it a go, combining the strength of the 3 women to meet the challenge with wisdom and courage. Chapter 8 From the Garden to the Temple. After many hardships, Mo Suanchu not only succeeded in getting rid of the dark forces, but also brought local governance to prosperity. He became one of the most influential figures in officialdom and was admired. The three women finally understood each other's emotions and chose to protect Mo Suanchu together and build the future together. Mo Suanchu looked back at the green mountains and rivers of his hometown, and his heart was full of emotion. This road from the countryside to the peak of power is the crystallization of wisdom, courage, and love. Chapter 9 Between Power and Color. Mo Suanchu rose to fame in officialdom, however, as his status increased, his life began to be full of temptations and challenges. Yanran, a young and capable female official, secretly sent Chubo to Mo Suanchu. Once at an official banquet, Yanran deliberately wore a red dress, approached Mo Suanchu, and asked in a low voice, "Mr. Mo, officialdom is constantly disturbing, have you ever thought about how sweet this taste of power is?" Mo Suanchu pursed his lips, his eyes deep. Power is like a knife. If you hold it well, it can protect you. If you hold it poorly, you will hurt yourself. The corners of Yanran's mouth raised slightly, and she leaned over gently, hinting at her intentions. At the same time, Liang Wangqing, an amorous official wife, saw that Mo Suanchu was becoming more and more famous, and she also secretly and frequently approached. Once in a luxurious mansion, she deliberately brushed Mo Suanchu's arm and said softly, "Mr. Mo, if you are willing to cooperate with me, there is nothing in the world that you can't stop." Faced with the ambiguity and temptation of the two women, Mo Suanchu secretly calculated in his heart, knowing that the power in people's hearts at this time must be controlled by wisdom, and cannot be arbitrary. Chapter 10 The Beginning of the Conspiracy. As Mo Suanchu's influence continued to expand, the discontent forces within the officialdom also began to move. One day, Mo Suanchu received an anonymous letter, which read, "Mo Suanchu, your good luck will not last, Game of Thrones, there are no eternal allies." Soon after, a sudden scandal swept through the entire government agency, and Mo Suanchu was implicated, facing lawsuits and investigations. When Suruyan heard the news, she stood beside Mo Suanchu without hesitation, helped him defend him, and provided him with countless medical and legal help. Yanran is secretly collecting intelligence, trying to find out the truth and find out who is behind the scenes. In this storm, Mo Suanchu had to use the wisdom and insight of the 5 techniques to peel back the fog layer by layer and find the real enemy. Chapter 11 Breaking Through the Dilemma. With his excellent judgment and profound skills in the 5 arts, Mo Suanchu successfully exposed the corruption conspiracy of a high-ranking official and eliminated the forces that framed him. The attitude of officialdom towards him began to change, and many people who once doubted him changed their praise. Liang Wangqing showed her value at this time, using her connections to help Mo Suanchu stabilize her power base. The relationship between Suruyan and Yanran is becoming more and more delicate, and the emotional wrestling between the two against Mo Suanchu makes the whole situation even more complicated. Chapter 12 The Price of Power. With the consolidation of power, Mo Suanchu felt unprecedented pressure and loneliness. Late one night, he sat alone on the terrace of the mansion, looking at the starry sky in the distance, full of contradictions and entanglements. Suruyan's purity and gentleness are the strength of his original intention, Yanran's enthusiasm and ambition are the driving force behind his climb to the peak, and Liang Wangqing's temptation and strategy are the umbrella of his survival. He knows very well that there is no turning back on this path and that a balance must be struck between emotion and power. Chapter 13 The Eve of the Storm. Mo Suanchu became more and more firmly seated, but he also felt the undercurrent surging around him. One night, he received a secret report that his political enemies were plotting to pull him down in one fell swoop. He summoned Suruyan, Yanran and Liang Wangqing to talk secretly, and the 3 daughters each showed different wisdom and strength. Suruyan used medical skills to protect Mo Suanchu's health, and used tenderness to resolve the hostility of some hostile officials. Yanran used the intelligence network to spy on the enemy's situation and was strategic. Liang Wangqing is comfortable in social situations and contacts with external forces. Mo Suanchu felt that these 3 forces were like 3 parallel rivers, converging into his indestructible shield. Chapter 14 The Political Situation Reversed. The conspiracy of the political opponent was exposed at a critical moment, and Mo Suanchu took the lead in attacking, using the 5-technique layout to make the enemy contradict himself. At an open officialdom meeting, he skillfully used the analysis of the situation and the insight of people's hearts to oppose the enemy's army and successfully retain power. His reputation rose again, and officials began to privately refer to him as the divine monarch of the 5 arts. But he knew in his heart that the real challenge had just begun. Chapter 15. Emotional Outburst. The emotional contradictions of the 3 women gradually heat up. Suruyan hopes that Mo Soinchu can return to innocence and live an ordinary and happy life. Yayenran hopes to join hands with him to break through the officialdom and create a bigger career. Liang Wangqing secretly planned to use him to climb to a higher position of power. After a banquet, the emotions between the 3 of them exploded, and Mo Soinchu was pushed to the crossroads of choice. He is well aware that any choice will affect the future power structure and life destiny. Chapter 16. Breaking the Deadlock. Faced with the dual dilemma of emotion and power, Mo Soinchu decided to let go of part of his pursuit of power and focus on promoting reform and driving local development. He announced a series of livelihood policies, which won the love of the people and won more support in the officialdom. Yayenran chose to move forward hand in hand with him to create the future together. Suruyan chose to retreat behind the scenes and guard silently. Liang Wangqing's ambition has not diminished, but she has also begun to re-evaluate her life. Chapter 17. A new situation begins. The wave of reform swept the locality, and Mo Soinchu became a model for officials in the new era. He still uses the 5 arts, but more often than not, he uses wisdom and mind to balance power and people's hearts. What was once a rural teenager has transformed into a political giant, surrounded by sincere companions and cautious enemies. The road ahead is still bumpy, but Mo Soinchu is ready to meet any challenge.